Welcome to this year's first edition of the Prospect Profile mini-series here within the Atlanta Braves franchise. If you guys are unaware of what the Prospect Profile is, it's a little mini-series I've been doing for a few years now within my franchises here on YouTube, where I go over top prospects throughout the organization of whoever my franchise team is. So obviously we're the Braves this year, so we'll be doing AAA Gwinnett and AA Mississippi because you can't play single-A games, and those are the AAA and AA teams. And basically what I do is I go over the prospects, one prospect per video, get you guys familiar with that prospect, get you guys hyped to see this prospect, and just give you the whole rundown of what that prospect is all about while showing you some footage of that prospect playing a game. So, this first episode, we're going to go with the number one Braves prospect in what should be the first episode, Ozzie Albies, the second baseman of the future for the Atlanta Braves. Right now, obviously, the Braves have Brandon Phillips at that second base spot, and so far in the season, we're pretty early on. It's still the first month of the season, so you can't really judge anything yet. But Ozzie Albies is currently in AAA. He's 20 years old. Second baseman. He can play shortstop too, but we have Swanson at shortstop. So Albies and Swanson are the second base shortstop combo of the future. Albies is a switch hitter, throws righty, 5'9", 160 pounds, and he's 20 years old, already in AAA. So he's made some pretty quick progress throughout the Braves organization. MLB.com has his tools graded as a 65 hit, 30 power, 70 run, 55 arm, 65 field, and a 60 overall. And his best being, obviously, 65 hit, 70 run, and 65 field. And 65 hit, if you're wondering what that really translates to, if you look up at an objective tool grade, 65 hit is generally around a 290 average. That's what the projection is, and I'm sure all of you are aware that a 290 average is pretty darn good in the major leagues. 300 is like the benchmark for like a solid if you hit 300, you're really freaking good. That's some pretty basic baseball knowledge. So that's just kind of throwing that out there, putting the benchmark. He's projected to be a 65 hit, which is definitely a solid bat within the major leagues. And he's a switch hitter, so he hits from both sides of the plate. Both sides of the plate, I should say. He has a quick, compact swing from both sides, and he's not just a slap hitter. Generally, when a guy like Ozzie Albies comes up through the system, people will grade him as like, oh, he's a slap hitter, you know, he doesn't really have any pop behind his bat, because he's small. The guy's 5'9", 160. You wouldn't expect a guy like that to have any pop, but I mean, we've seen guys or short guys all the time, small guys in the league, and they have plenty of pop. I mean, they're not 40 home run guys, but they're not like one home run Juan Pierre. They're not that type of power either. So Ozzie Albies, even though he's not projected to be a home run type of hitter, he's definitely not just a slap hitter, which is generally just the guy who kind of hits like weak ground balls that find gaps, or weak ground balls that just get into areas where he's able to get an infield hit out of it because he's got that 70 grade speed. But he's not that type of hitter. He's the type of hitter who will hit these hard line drive, or he has a line drive oriented swing, so he's going to hit these hard hit balls. And even if they are just like landing in the infield, they're still hard hit, and they're hard hit balls, and they go to places where they're not gonna be there. I mean, obviously you're gonna get BABIP sometimes and hit it right at people, but Ozzie Albies does have a tendency to use all fields. I believe the stat I saw was that his three most batted balls areas are right field, center field, and left field in that order, and they're all within 2 points, like 2 percentage points of each other. So, I mean, it's not like you can be like, oh, we're just going to shift him way over here, and he's not going to hit it the other way, because he uses all fields, and he hits hard hit balls. So he's definitely got the tools to be that 65 grade tool hitter. Now, MLB.com has Albies graded as a 55 arm, which isn't technically a plus arm. A plus arm, the term plus is generally used as a 60 grade, but I've seen a lot of Atlanta Braves-centered blogs and just articles and just stuff like that where they've rated him as like a 60, 65, seen him as high as 65 for arm, but he is a bit inaccurate, I've seen. He was at shortstop, and he would have that rocket of an arm, but it was a little bit inaccurate with him. He would just kind of get wild with it. But apparently, ever since he's moved to second base, where he doesn't really need to just fire that in there, he's gotten way more accurate since he doesn't have to worry about firing this rocket from a deep hole in shortstop. And he is definitely a sure-handed fielder as well, as he is a 65 field. As I mentioned, that is one of his better tools. And then one of the most appealing things about him to me is his 70 speed grade. That is a 70 speed, 70 grade in anything is generally referred to as a plus, and that plus speed is so needed in Atlanta. If you look at Atlanta's roster, they have Ender Inciarte in the leadoff spot. He's the fastest guy on the team by far, probably. Swanson's got some speed too, but he's not really like a speed guy. But Ender Inciarte is the fastest guy, but he's not really like a base running threat. He's got speed that he uses in the outfield to get that gold glove that he had in 2016. But he's not like a base running threat like Ozzie Albies is. As this guy is 70 speed, like I mentioned, plus speed, he's going to steal a lot of bases. He's really smart on the base paths. He's not just a guy who uses his speed and just outruns things. And he's like, I'm trying to think of an example. I can't really think of one right now. Just the guy who doesn't really know how to run the bases, but he's so fast that it makes up for it. This guy is super fast, and he knows how to run the bases. So that is definitely something that the Braves need in their lineup, because they just don't have any speed, and it is definitely a detriment to the lineup, as I personally like having a lot of speed on a team. Now, when should you expect to see Ozzie Albies in the big leagues in this series? Well, MLB.com has his ETA as 2017. His MLB ETA is 2017, which is this Season 1, and I do think he will be up sometime in Season 1. Right now, we're only not even a month through the season, so, I mean, I don't think he's going to get called up right now, and he needs to prove that he can hit more in AAA, because he's hitting below 200 in AAA. He needs to prove that he can hit in AAA before I'm comfortable calling him up to the big leagues, but I would expect to see him sometime in the big leagues in 2017. So 2017, we're sticking with that MLB ETA. And then who is Ozzie Albies comparable to? Who is his MLB player comp? Well, you're probably thinking, well, small guy, second baseman, Jose Altuve. And that's my player comp as well. Jose Altuve, and I understand that he has had that power surge the past year. 2016, he had a lot of home runs. 2017 is probably going to continue on that pace of hitting for a lot more pop. He is the 3-hitter in the Astros lineup, but I don't think Ozzie Albies is going to have that power surge that Altuve had. I think he's more comparable to Altuve's 2012 to 2015 stats, usually around like 8 home runs, 8 home runs, something like that, hits for high average, a lot of hits, that type of player. Because MLB.com has him graded as a 30 power, which is like, I mean, 20 power is like, that's the bottom of the scale. 30 is really not that good. It's way below average, because below average is 45. I've seen a couple Braves accounts rate him as a 45 power. I don't think he's personally that high of a power. And, but I mean, it's not that far off, probably. 30 power is generally slated around 3 to 5 home runs a season, and 45 is 12 to 15 home runs. So, I mean, I could see him hitting like 8 a season. That's a possibility. But Ozzie Albies, player comp, Jose Altuve, that's going to wrap things up here for the Ozzie Albies prospect profile, here for the first prospect profile of the season. I've been your host, Jersey Born, and I'm saying goodbye.